Can you can you guys hear me all right now? Yeah, looks like the sound is coming, but if somebody can just send me a message. Hi, can you hear me now? Fantastic. Yay. Okay. All right. So, everything that you did not hear me say, basically, we were having an interesting discussion, something that I get asked a lot actually. Which technique should I try? People are like, should I try out this kind of healing? Should I try out that kind of healing? And some of these are good, and some of them are not what they promise, and some of them are downright dangerous. Yes, but now something that I really want to put out there is it's not the technique, it's the healer or it's the person, you know like you can give a great chef a bad knife and he will still manage to make great food. It may slow him down a bit, but he will still make good food, right? And you can give a bad chef the best of equipments, but he will still make a lousy meal. So it's not the tool, it's the person. If the person you are going to, or if the teacher you are going to, has done the work themselves, they have healed and worked on themselves, they have a rock solid practice, then they will be able to pull you out of wherever you are. And it's never the tool, it is the the presence, the wisdom that the person has garnered over the years. Anyone can give you theoretical gyan. People can tell you things. You can read it in a book. You don't need to pay so much money to go to a healer who will tell you stuff that you can easily read in a book that you can buy for 100 or 200 bucks. Why do you go to a healer or a teacher? Because they can give you something that words cannot. In fact, I would say some of the biggest shifts in my life happened without words entirely. It was just by sitting in front of certain people that things changed. All right. Um, I have a few questions that I received on WhatsApp as well. I'll cover those, but this looks interesting. Sam, what kind of karma attracts entities of various kinds? How has Reiki Mastership changed you? Can you share some experience? Interesting. I don't know if I want to talk about entities. It's not something everybody can digest. So I kind of restrict that kind of discussion to people I know will be able to digest it. But I mean, generally, what kind of karma attracts? I don't know. I guess overall it would be two things. If you are Actually, that brings me to something that I was going to talk about anyway, that your dreams get in the way, your desires get in the way. Um, the more obsessed you are with something, the more you have an unprocessed void, you know, you're going to use all kinds of toxic energies to fill up those holes and spaces inside your system. People think that we get attacked. We don't. There's no way you can get attacked unless you have a vulnerability first. And the more unprocessed emotions you have, the more vulnerable you are, the more you can be wounded without realizing what's happening. um, it's the same energetically that as it is mentally. How easy is it to con you? You may be very smart, your bullshit detectors, your bullshit antennas might be like super polished, but the moment you want something very badly, it becomes that much easier to con you. A very simple example for this could be that you have low self esteem issues. Let's say you're plump or fat, and a little flabby here and there. And, with the media today propagating just one sort of, body as ideal, not even a feminine body, actually. You're supposed to look like a stick these days. But anyway, suppose you want to look like a stick and you are not a stick, you're a human being, and you feel bad about it. Now it's very, very easy for you to be fooled, because anyone who makes you feel like you are beautiful will get through to you directly, even if they don't have good intentions. Now, to acknowledge that they don't have good intentions and they're not a good person, you have to first discard this satisfaction of feeling worthy because you are pretty now, right? So you have to let that go. And how badly do you want to hold on to the feeling of feeling pretty? That's going to determine how easy it is to fool you. So this is a very oversimplified example, uh, but yeah, it could be due to loneliness, because you don't feel complete. And it doesn't have anything to do with being single or in a relationship. A lot of people in relationships are far lonelier than single people. So you can be feeling that void and feeling that you will never feel complete again, and then then you pick up energies so that it feels a little more whole. So that's what the answer to that is. And how has Reiki Mastership changed you? Can you share experiences? I don't believe that Reiki teachership and mastership are instrumental in a person's spiritual growth. It is more about service. But I would say the prime benefit for me was that it forced me to have a rock solid practice, because I knew that if I did not practice properly, I would be exposing myself to a whole lot of damage. So I think if I wasn't a master, I would probably have a little more flimsy practice. I would have an excuse to miss on some days and be like, yeah, it's okay. I've been busy today and tomorrow I like there's nothing in tomorrow to force me to practice. So that's one thing. Being a master made sure that I just the risks are too high. Like if I miss a single day, I feel it. It's not good. um the other thing, um the Reiki mastership, like these many years of working on people, it does expand your capacity to perceive things, which is fun. It makes you more of a weirdo with other people. So yeah, that's kind of fun, but it's also a price to pay. So I would say mainly those two things. I think. Okay, thank you for that question. Um, All right, so let me just see what are the other questions I got. There are so many methods out there. You mentioned a few days ago that there is Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raj Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Even among each option, there are so many different methodologies. Yes. So, how do I know which one of these is the right path for me? Reiki is the right path for you. I'm, I'm kidding. It's good for most people. Um, See, I would say before any path, because you can be on a path and you can still end up nowhere. I have seen people like that. After 10 years of practice, they still go nowhere. Because if you're on the spiritual pathway to get some benefit out of it, we all start that way somewhere. But at some point, someone knocks some sense into you. It happened with me as well. I was told by my spiritual teacher that I'm not even interested in spirituality. It was a big, big wake up moment for me, because she was right, right? When she said that, it was true. I had been lost. I was not always like that, but when she said that, it was very, very true, and it opened my eyes. So if you are going astray like that, if you're not here to surrender but here to control, then you don't go anywhere, no matter what path you're on. But as far as which path is concerned, look, it doesn't even have to be one specific path. Although if you align with a guru, and when I say guru, it has to be a one-on-one relationship. If you are trying to follow a guru, with whom you can never have a one-on-one conversation. They are not capable of guiding you. Yeah, I mean, after a certain point, it's fine to have a like public guru in the first half of your journey, I guess. um, but so yeah, when you focus on surrendering, you can sorry, sorry, what I was talking about was, if your guru in specific tells you that you have to surrender only to me and don't do anything else. There are some gurus who will say that, and it's not with a desire to control you or manipulate you. They're being sincere. Then you follow that. Some gurus are more open. They will encourage you to experiment. Some are like that, and that's also a phase. The thing with the teacher is, when it's a one-on-one relationship, they're very responsive, so they'll watch you, and when they see that something is not serving you, they ask you to stop, or they call you out, and it depends on their approach. Some can be very like that, and some can be like, this is what I suggest, the rest is up to you. So but yeah, I mean, barring that situation where a guru tells you don't experiment with anything else, in general, it's a combination of things. We were talking about bhakti yoga, karma yoga, raj yoga, jnana yoga. You're usually combining all four in your pathway anyway. There's bhakti yoga, which is devotion to something. It doesn't have to be only a particular god, which in itself is very powerful. But I mean, you could be devoted to your spouse, you could be devoted to your children, you could be devoted to a cause, uh, something like that. So that is also bhakti. You could be devoted to the divine, with the formula is divine as well. Just being in surrender to whatever happens in life. Karma yoga, I think, if you're being sincere, we're all doing karma yoga every day. It's not a specific pathway in general anyway, but people forget this. It's really sad. Even those who are highly well versed in the scriptures, they don't follow the basic principles, the yama niyama. Do not lie, do not cheat. It's just such a way of life now. People are comparing it with each other. Okay, I cheat less than you, so I'm good. I lie less than you, so I'm good. But you're not supposed to do these things at all. So raise your standards. Don't compare yourself with the people that are failing. Are they ahead of you spiritually? If the answer is yes, then go ahead and compare, but usually not. Right? Do not compare yourself to ordinary people if you wish to rise above them. So have that base, the foundation first, have strong values, have strong principles, and then see what suits you. If you're a very active person, very sporty person, then Raj Yoga is definitely the way for you. Go towards the divine with your through your body. And if you're a very intellectual person, the problem with the intellectual path is you need a teacher who has actually transcended reality through knowledge, not somebody who has transcended reality and has knowledge. You understand the difference? Now, that's very rare to find. I have not, okay, I have met one or two people like that in my whole life so far. So I've met one and seen another one on YouTube. There's just literally two people I know who seem to have actually crossed certain levels, through knowledge alone. Bhakti yoga is devotion, in which case, I mean, bhakti yoga is the one that is prescribed for Kali Yuga anyway, and I have experienced that it will take you forward even without a guru. It's pretty amazing. Reiki falls in bhakti yoga. It's basically surrender. It's surrender to the formless divine. So, do Reiki, best for Kali Yuga. Okay. I mean, if it works for you, if it's your sort of thing. It's not easy because again, it involves surrender, right? If you have this desire to control, you're not going to like Reiki very much. I didn't like Reiki myself because I maybe still am a control freak. I guess people may not agree with me because I can also be spontaneous, but I do have, I like things to be in control, used to anyway. So I just couldn't stand this system. I was like, this is too like out there. Like nothing is in my control. I would like to have more predictability in the system, and it's not. Reiki is not like that at all. So Actually, if you're a control freak, you should probably do Reiki even more, because it's the only thing that'll knock that out of you. Um, let's see what the other questions are. What to do if I feel lethargic all the time, feeling drained and not being able to control, not being able to control my diet? I mean, this person was asked this person, Yuri, are you practicing Reiki? Because I would not expect any of these things to happen if you're practicing Reiki. If you are, and it may be that you have some disorder, and it may be a good idea to get it checked with a doctor, some sort of autoimmune disorder, or maybe supplements. But I mean, are you practicing Reiki? Because that shouldn't be happening. Is there a way of explaining Reiki to people who have no idea in a convincing way? Is there an example or analogy to help explain it? You're trying to explain an abstract thing in concrete words. It's not going to happen. I have never tried to explain Reiki to anyone. All I do is I give them some Reiki when they need it. There's no need to talk about Reiki to anybody. A lot of my clients have come to me because they saw their colleagues who learned Reiki from me, and the colleagues, after a while, changed completely. They calmed down significantly, or they were significantly more nice to people. They were glowing. There are clients who've come back and told me, "Oh, I met so and so. They learned Reiki from you." And I looked at them and I said, "You're glowing. What have you done?" And they said, "I learned Reiki, so I'm here because I want that glow." So when people see the difference, you don't have to explain it to them. It it when they see the impact, nobody cares how it really works. I don't know how it works. I After 26 years of practice, I know that I don't know, but I can try to sort of put it in words. If you want to explain it to them, mm, the way I just normally explain it is, okay, you've got the body, you approach problems in the body, then you approach problems in the mind. But what about your energy field? Right? I mean, even the mind, we don't really clear it up. We're just gathering all these toxic, negative thoughts all day. Every time you watch TV or something, there's so much toxicity going in. Like I said, every time you watch a TV, you're being brainwashed. Have you ever noticed how all the smartest people will also be the most beautiful ones, the fat ones, the ugly ones will be the dumb ones, which is not actually how it is in life at all. But you're being programmed over and over and over again without even realizing it. Every movie you watch, you're learning, oh, the smart ones, the ones that get ahead, the successful ones, they're all thin and beautiful and tall, and they have the perfect sort of makeup on and the perfect sort of clothes. They wear expensive clothes. So you're being programmed a lot. um, and then where was I? Sort of lost track of what I was saying. So basically, when you want to talk about Reiki, you just tell them that, you know have you noticed when two things that vibrate, like there's a study done where two clocks that vibrate, pendulum clocks, even if they're out of sync, they will eventually come into sync. That's what you're doing in Reiki, and this is why it is also important to keep your own vibration high. When your vibration is that high, simply existing allows everybody else to sink in and raise their vibration by being next to you. You think you are going and healing a person, but the truth with Reiki is, when you have a strong practice, you are automatically raising the vibration of everyone around you all the time. Like if I have a fabric, for example, we are all a fabric. So if I lift one portion, I can't lift one portion in isolation. Everything else rises along with it. You are that. The more you rise, everything else rises with you. It can't help it. So I would really love for my clients to go past this whole idea of, being a healer, healing people. You don't do that. It's just that's just part of it. It's like somebody who wants to come rest in your aura and leave. But the truth is, when you are doing your self practice sincerely, you are raising the vibration of the whole society around you. It's not just you and your family. So, coming back to the point, when your own vibration rises so much, people look at you, they get inspired, and they want to learn. Um, Astrologers, something, I'm not sure I understand. That cost you as what if a poor man's chart is full of complexities? I guess you're talking about astrological remedies that people suggest. Yeah, I mean, there are some remedies that do cost a lot, but there are, I mean, most of what I suggest to people is actually very cheap. Do it yourself. But yeah, if you're lazy, you don't want to do it by yourself, then you have to pay someone else to do it. There are a few things that do cost money, but those are for the extreme situations where you might die or something, and then you are willing to spend that kind of money to sort of get some relief. But most of the other remedies, no. Look, if you change who you are, then you have changed your karma. If you surrender, if you learn the lesson, all these things are merely to help you learn some lessons. So if you learn that, then either the circumstances will change, or the circumstances remain the same, and you learn to embrace it. Like, just a few days ago, I was having a long, detailed conversation with one of my clients where the whole family is suffering. And I looked at all of their charts. I talked about all of them. We were, figuring out what every single person is going through. And in the end, when I looked at all of it, it was very clear they need to go through this hardship in order to grow. There's no other way. If they don't go through it, they're just going to be not high quality human beings. This is a very difficult time, but a fantastic opportunity to actually grow. But nobody's liking it, right? Nobody's liking going through this. It's a very big degrade, downgrade from their previous really awesome life. So, but you can surrender and use all your grit to face it, to grow from it rather than to be crushed by it. um How to attract positivity at home and ourself. Do Reiki every day, do flooding every day. It's as simple as that. I mean, for normal people, if you're doing healings, then it's a whole other ball game because you have toxic energies walking into your house all the time. But if you're a regular person, then just do your Reiki. Do a lot of flooding every time you have somebody that is supposedly negative. Do a lot of flooding, flush out your own fears and inner toxicity, and allow their toxicity to be flushed as well, and you'll be just fine. If you've learned level 2, then you also know how to cleanse your home. So there's nothing more you need to do. Yuri says, yes, I'm practicing Reiki on a daily basis. Very, very strange. Please get in touch with me, then we will work this out because something is off. How much of our life do we decide before birth, and also do we decide when and how we die? Absolutely. How much of your life you decide before your birth depends really on how evolved your soul is, usually, because as I mentioned, the further along you go, the more maturity you develop, the more free you are, and uh, the less you try to actually control life. So if you are a young soul, you want to control everything. So in the same way, everything will be, like, I want this and I want that, and I want you participate in designing your life. So right from the body to, everything, you be like, I want that, and then this, and then this, and then that, so you have everything planned out. The more advanced you get, the older your soul is, so to say. You have freedom. You just have, like, just like an artist, right? This is why I love painting so much as well, because you go and you focus on the details and you get into the nitty gritties when you're doing realism, and then you go into abstract, right? So um, even though people think that anyone can do abstract, I used to think that as well. There's so much that goes into learning to do abstract, so advanced is abstract. You just have like a few lines here and there, and you're like, okay, this is the rough idea, that I have of my life. I'll go there and figure it out. So you can actually change things around as well. So that is why when people tell you, oh, you can change the plan, well, first of all, you don't know if changing the plan was the plan in the first place. Sometimes it is. Or if they really changed the plan. And if they changed the plan, maybe they're just far more advanced souls than you are. It doesn't mean you can pull it off as well. Not everybody can. And it has to be part of the plan to have the capacity to change the plan as well. Um, is it possible to know past life actions from astrological chart and suggest remedy for present life? Honestly, I don't care what actions you took in the past life, because there's plenty of actions you can take now. It's not like you haven't suffered now. It's not like you haven't suffered, experienced trauma in this life. Look, the first 7 years are usually a blueprint of the past life karma anyway. So inner child work solves pretty much most of the problems. You rarely need to go into past lives. It's very, very rare if you have a good therapist. um, and if you work through those, you don't need to go there. Suggest remedies. Remedies are in the present life anyway. It doesn't matter what you've done in a past life. So unless you actually go there and relive that incident, you cannot fix anything that you've done. Because just think about it. Suppose you get into a fight with someone, right? Or let's say that you're a woman. Let's say that maybe you're going through a divorce and it got nasty, and your husband does his very best to make sure you don't get child's custody and stuff like that, and then he kidnaps the kid and runs away, and then you get to see your child after 20 years. And maybe he meets with an accident and he forgets everything, right? And then he comes and tells you, I'm so sorry for everything that I did. Does it matter? Like, he doesn't even remember, right? So you don't remember anything. There's no point in regretting anything that you've done, because you have no idea who did that, what the circumstances were. Maybe you regret, oh, I'm sorry I killed you, but well, you don't know why you killed someone, why you hurt someone, right? How badly they hurt you, what you were going through. So how can you apologize for something that you don't even remember? You don't remember it in this life, someone else telling you, oh, you did this, you did that, and if you do this, there's a remedy. There is no remedy. The only remedy is to be a better quality human being. Stop hurting people now, change now, surrender more to life now. Make peace with life now. Learn to make the most of adverse situations now. Instead of trying to control things, trying to change things. Give more than you take. And I mean, really, for the sake of giving, give and let go, you know. Not the sort of giving that is like, oh, I did so much for you and look what you're doing for me. That's not giving. That's just a business deal. I'm doing so much for you, therefore you're supposed to do so much for me. When you really give, you give and it's over. An apple tree does not ask you for fertilizer. It just gives an apple. That's it. It doesn't ask you for anything back. You go and you cut the tree later on. It's still like, yeah, okay, too bad. It's not holding it against you. Oh, I gave you so many apples, and look, now you're chopping my, branches for wood. Stupid person. No, come on. Um, I have been clearing a lot of negative beliefs and mental blocks continuously, and I'm able to take people and things nicely, even if they're not good. But I'm draining a lot of energy, and by evening, I feel weak. Is it because of my transformation? I'm losing energy. What to do? I pick up a lot of things, but I run out of energy. Don't worry about it. It's part of the process. Um, it's like when you're trying to improve your stamina, right? Suppose you can do deadlifts to a certain level, or you can, you're flexible to a certain extent, and you want to take it to the next level. You're going to be exercising a lot more, and then what will you be? More fatigued. This is an emotional exercise. So you are exercising your emotional muscles to a far greater extent than you have done before. So of course you're going to be tired because it's new. Like even for me, when I started developing a much greater awareness, I was like, it was like my mind was switched on all the time, just like watching, observing, observing, observing. Otherwise you're just asleep. And it was so exhausting. I'd be just tired all the time. So that can happen, yes. Suggest us 5 things to do every day. Nothing. I'm not here to tell you what to do. The whole idea of learning Reiki is that Reiki helps you have a mind of your own. Please don't ask others to tell you what to do. So the only thing I would suggest is write down 5 things that you need to do to be a better person, to be kinder, to be more accountable and responsible, and to actually add value to the world. So, can spirit guides decide to change the plan in between when we ask them to? They don't do stuff like that. I mean, if you are on a higher level, not the conscious mind, if you think your life needs to change, that has nothing to do with what life really is. But on a higher level, if your soul level, you feel that this is not serving my growth or improvement, then of course the plan will change, because the universe is really quite integrated like that. If it's not serving you, it will change. How to get rid of a pattern that is repeating? If a pattern is repeating, it simply means you haven't learned the lesson, in which case surrender, make peace with it, get therapy. You can't always solve every problem by yourself. Sometimes therapy helps a lot. Any idea if waterfall foundation have good for the house to attract? I'm not sure what a waterfall foundation means. Oh, or fountain, probably. Any idea of a waterfall or fountain is good for the house to attract wealth and abundance? Yeah, sure. If it's in the right place, yes. If it's in the wrong place, not so much. So that needs to be checked with somebody who knows Vastu properly and also understands astrology, so they can check with your chart and be sure that that's a good spot for you. But if you're doing Reiki, you will know the answer to that. So just trust Reiki and place it where it feels right, and it will probably help. Okay. So coming to similar question to what we've already discussed, is it true that we all have some prenatal contract sort of purpose agreed by us before coming here? If yes, how do we align ourselves with that? And if not, why are we here? Is this what is the goal of a spiritual seeker, to experience or understand? Interesting, yes. Um, Look, I don't claim to know everything. Okay, a lot of this is just what we perceive as human beings, and it could be very much that at the end we just realize this was all just a joke, one big cosmic joke. So, personally, I don't even try to answer these questions to myself. For me, my status is I don't know. The further you go on the spiritual journey, the truth is you just get comfortable with not knowing. You end up knowing a lot, but then you don't take that knowledge too seriously, because there's no such thing as the ultimate truth that can be, you know, described in words. Um, so, but yeah, do you have a purpose? Well, not really. Not the way people think it is. When you think about purpose, you're thinking, "Oh, I have one thing. Oh, I should be a dentist in this life," or I have to change the world by creating a revolution. It's very rare that purpose is very momentary. It's in the now. What do you need to do right now? You are a woman, you have given birth to a child. Your child has fallen on the field and is bleeding. Now, the purpose in that moment is to make sure the child is fine. So the purpose is changing every moment. The moment you go to work, your purpose is completely different. The purpose that you have when your child is 2 or a newborn, or is very different from the purpose that you have when your child is a teenager, or the purpose that you have when your child is 40 years old and going through a divorce. So your purpose is changing all the time. The basic purpose is just to make sure you learn to surrender and embrace every moment as it is and try to make the most of it, um, in the best way possible. um, yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Anshika. Rajshekar, I will answer you on WhatsApp. These are not questions I talk about in public forums. um, all right, and there's one more question that I received. um, if astrology can predict the future, does that mean everything is planned in advance? And if yes, what is our role? Doesn't seem fair if someone is affected by ancestral karma or curse. If everything seems balanced and fair, uh, the way the universe works, then how can this be perceived? Um, Astrology cannot predict the future, not like that. But there's a lot that can be predicted. For example, um, if you like cricket, I think most people like cricket. I don't, by the way, but I think most people, and if you're an Indian, you probably like cricket. uh if you're standing there watching it live, when you see the ball, can't you tell where the ball is going to end up? That's prediction, isn't it? If you see a person driving very fast and there's a big speed breaker ahead, don't you know what's going to happen? Isn't that prediction? So astrology is just a map. It's like having Google Maps. I often compare astrology with Google Maps. It's literally like that. It's Google Maps for life. Does having Google Maps mean that you will be an expert driver? No, not at all. Being a driver is being a driver. It has nothing to do how you live your life. Depends on your spiritual capacity. How far have you come? How many spiritual lessons have you learned? How much have you grown? That determines what you will do with the data. What will you do when you look at Google Maps? An expert driver is going to handle that information very differently from somebody like me who doesn't drive very well at all. Like, the way I process Google Maps is going to be very different from somebody who's like, where the car is an extension of them, like that. So when astrology becomes an extension of you, it's like you have 10 more senses. You can decide differently. What do you do with Google Maps? You're like, oh my God, this route has so much more traffic, and if I go there, yes, I know Google says this route and this route are both like similar times right now, but I know when I go there, I'm going to get stuck and it's going to take another hour more. So let me just take this route. It's much longer, but I know I will at least reach and I won't get stuck in the middle. So, in the same way, we understand, okay, if I do this, I'm going to head towards this. And if I do that, then that's what happens. And these are the challenges I have to be prepared for. Like, for example, astrology says, oh, you know what, you're going to have communication issues. Now it's up to you. Are you going to take communication issues and turn them into nasty ugly fights and throwing things around, or are you going to take this information, oh, we will have communication issues, and say, oh, so there are going to be communication issues, so the next time your husband is like, yeah, I'll be late, and you're like, what was that, like that, why are you talking to me you're like, wait, no, communication issues. So you're like, wait, can you say that again? And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm really busy. I can't think. I'm feeling extremely frustrated. I want to slap my boss right now. I'm sorry, that was rude. I didn't mean it like that at all. Let's talk about it once I get home. No communication issue anymore, is there? I've actually witnessed this live with communication issues in specific. So it's incredible, when you start realizing these are the things that can go wrong. You can sort of find your way around it as well. You can't always do that, but even if it can, you can, like I said, bring it to the best case scenario. So, in my eyes, life is about bringing these things to the best case scenario, and astrology is one of the best tools to do that. Unfortunately, the spiritual growth aspect is completely suppressed. Again, all the lower, younger souls are more busy in trying to control their life. I want to have a baby. Which puja should I do? What's the remedy? I'm not having a baby. There's no such thing as a remedy in astrology. It's just manipulation. So there's a whole lot of manipulation happening using astrological tools. It's not very useful, because, like, for example, suppose something says you're not going to have the joy of a husband in your life. It means it will not bring you any joy. You can, God is trying to protect you, the universe or your own higher self is trying to protect you by saying, please don't get married. It's better that way, because you don't have the joy of a husband anyway. Let's leave that, forget about it. But you're like, no, 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 this husband part has to be there, so then you do all these remedies and then you get a husband, and then life is hell. You weren't supposed to get the joy of having a husband anyway. The joy still will not be there, the pain will be there now because you've chosen that, but joy, no. So that's the beauty of it. You're not going to get what you're not here to get, because you have to learn those lessons. And even that happens, like I said, that kind of choice comes for souls that have like advanced enough to make choices, but then not advanced enough to actually know what to do with those choices. Like, with great choices come great responsibilities. Anyway, wait, so how to understand the purpose? I think we covered that. So, heart, mind, draw to. What happens after death? Is there something called soul review? Yeah, yeah. There is quite a soul review of what happens after death. Lots of things happen. The first thing that happens when you die is you tend to have this review bit. First thing is uh, you blank out. Like what happens when you faint, you're just gone. And then you have a quick review of everything that you've done, which is a whole lot of bunch of things that you didn't even realize that you remembered. Meaningless incidents. It's not the big stuff that comes up, it's the little things, the forgotten moments. A lot of things come up, all the things that you're attached to, all the things that you hate, anything that you feel strongly towards, all of that will come up. And then you are like, oh my God, I want more of that. Like, don't you remember sometimes, maybe, like for me, for me, one of the things that helped me, I guess not so much anymore, but one of the things that captivated me for a long, long time was pavlova, this Australian pavlova. It's dessert. I've made it once, I've had it a couple of times. Good pavlova is exquisite. And every time I think about it, not so much anymore, but every time I thought about it, I'd be like, I'd do anything for another pavlova. Like, if only, like, I wanted it badly enough to actually put in the effort to make it, which is very tedious, and you don't even know if the results will come. I failed also. So um, that's how it is, when you're really attached to something, when you go through it again, you're like, oh, I want that again. So then you get into those cycles again. So every single thing that you hate, every person that you hate, you're going to attract them again, because you're like, I am not done hating you, I want some more of this. So yeah, think twice before you do that. But then after that, yeah, so the first cycle of it is going through all the things that you hate. So all the pains, all the difficult emotions that you have suppressed, now it will all come back. You will experience all of that pain. Once that is, then that's what is called hell. And then after that, you go through all the happy emotions that you've suppressed, or stuff like that. You experience it for a while, and then lots of other layers happen, and then shortcut, basically you end up what I call upstairs. And then you're going to, I mean, it's a really long journey. I can recommend the books on the WhatsApp group if you like. But yeah, I mean, eventually, after you've done learning your soul lessons and everything, you will again sit down with your guides and then plan the next life and be back based on what lessons you want to focus on in this life. That's what it is. Could you please advise the right age for kids to learn Reiki and how it will benefit them? Yes, thank you. Right age for kids to learn Reiki: in the womb. If you practice Reiki, start healing the child in the womb, and when the baby is born, they'll watch you learn. One of the saddest things that I'm starting to realize is that parents don't actually talk to kids at all. Like, I'm meeting so many parents who practice Reiki sincerely, and the kids don't even know. The kids just barely know it as Reiki. I mean, I honestly don't understand it, because I was so curious. Also, we have that relationship. Even as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, I'd be like, "What is that?" I mean, when I overheard my parents talking about their work, I'd be like, "What is Gata Parcha? What is rubber dam? What are you talking about? Tell me more." Why are you not having these discussions? Why are you not talking about your life to your children? And why or not are you not talking about Reiki to your children? Like, your children should know every single thing about Reiki, because you love Reiki, right? Talk about it. They're not too young. I mean, children as young as 2 and 3 do Reiki, when the parents are free enough to share it with them. They're not young or dumb or anything. They're really smart. They're as smart as you believe that they are. You just have to know how to respond to them, how to listen to them, and how to talk to them. That's it. The metaphors you use and stuff. That's what helps them understand. So, no such thing as too young to learn Reiki. Although, if you want them to learn Reiki in a class, then yes. Then I would say they should be old enough to actually sit through a class without being a bother or a distraction to everybody else. Most people that's around the age of 8, I've had a lot of 8-year-olds sit through my class patiently, even boys, just relax and sit. But then lately, I've had a few parents saying, "No, my kid is 8 and there's no way they can sit quiet," because, I mean, the generation, as it's getting advanced, they have no capacity for stillness anymore. So ideally, if you practice Reiki, your child will practice meditation with you as well, and be capable of sitting still even when they're 2 or 3 years old. I have seen kids that can be not a distraction in a meditation hall. Can you imagine that? It is possible. Children are sensitive. It depends on what you teach them, what you reward. So, yeah, thank you. I'd completely forgotten that question. How does Reiki benefit kids? It helps children be themselves. And I mean, I don't, I feel for the people growing up in this age. It's not easy. Life was significantly easier much before, where, there was not so much sensory overload and stuff like that. Now there are no clear priorities. Parents don't have clear priorities. Children certainly don't even know what a priority means. Children that do Reiki are really special. I mean, especially the Reiki kids, who have parents who have learned Reiki or practiced Reiki from even before they were conceived, and they did Reiki for the whole process. But even when parents have learned Reiki after the birth, when they're 5 or 6 or even 14, the children transform quite a lot, because the more the parent works on themselves, the more the child also spiritually evolves. So, depending on the age, like younger kids, it helps them reconnect. It really expands creativity, like anything. Like, even my own, I was a teenager when I learned Reiki, and my creativity just took a massive leap, when that happened. So their intelligence, their memory, their creativity, all of this improves for kids. For teenagers, this is so critical for teenagers in this age, like them going completely crazy. And children will rarely have this need to fit in, because especially if they learn Reiki in early teens or before their teens, they will be very different. Their level of perception, their level of awareness is going to be so much higher than others. They will be like, okay, I just don't fit in among normal kids. And the moment that happens, you'll realize, what attracts you doesn't attract me. So that completely disappears. So this need, this being completely trapped by peer pressure, it completely disappears with Reiki. So I think that kind of covers the whole spectrum. And after that, of course, I mean, after you finish school and college, then you need Reiki all the more, right? For all the heartbreaks that you have, for all the stressful situations, the new job interviews and everything, you certainly want to be doing Reiki for all those scenarios. So, and for all your exams, Reiki helps big time. If you're a lousy student, it'll help you. It'll sort of make sure that you pass, usually. And if you're a good student, if you really put in your hard work and study well, I've had many, many clients who've known the questions beforehand. So yeah, it helps you cheat. I mean, as in intuitively, you'll just know, the stuff that you study will be the stuff that comes up in the exams. So it's pretty amazing like that. All right. So that's about an hour, I think. And I'll see you again soon. Thank you so much for all the questions. Big hug to all of you that joined. See you again soon. Bye.